Hey guys, and welcome to the SPECTRAL WOLFPACK Show, Episode 3. If you haven't seen the first two episodes, they are available for download, or you can listen to them all through Spreaker. If you have an Android, we have the Exposing Reality Radio app, where you can listen right on your phone to all the shows on our station. It's lit. It's awesome. Definitely check it out. Also, guys, I started the Spectral Wolfpack Patreon. It's patreon.com/SpectralWolfpack, and there's going to be some exclusive stuff, exclusive content, things like that will be on there. Also, as you always know, you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and all of that stuff always, and I answer every comment, as you probably know, if I can get around to it. So check those out. It's some good stuff. It's some good Spectral Wolfpack content coming out. So tonight we have a very special guest, my good friend Chris Baird, and we're going to be talking about the Hollow Earth theory. So Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I figured we'd just jump right into this because we have a lot to talk about. So I wanted to know, how did you get into all this, and can you tell everyone your website links and anything like that they could learn more about you on as well?
Well, I have Facebook is the primary place that I put stuff right now. For the Hollow Earth specifically, I have Center Stars channel, and the Hollow Earth is my Facebook page. My Facebook group for Hollow Earth is Official Hollow Earth Group. And then I have two more side groups that we'll be talking about a little bit more next week. And those are Titans, Giants, and Mud Fossils is one group.
Yeah.
And the other one is Disclosure is Here, Unlocking Earth's History.
And those are all on Facebook?
Yeah. So I also have a YouTube under Center Stars channel. But I don't have any recent content up there. For people that are interested, from the 2013 series, I did take down, somebody else reposted a video. If you look up Chris Baird Theory, you'll be able to look that up. It's about a half-an-hour video of a bunch of the entrances to the Hollow Earth and entrances on other planets and moons.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a subject that I personally don't know much about, but right after starting to just look a little bit into it, I was like, dang, I'm gonna get sucked right into this one. This is something that it's just.
That's exactly it. That's how I got started. Well, basically, what happened is I had a personal setback and injury at work, and I was left very bored, depressed, not able to work, and nothing to do. So I started researching, and the first topic that came to my mind was religion. Mm-hmm. I was raised Christian, so I, as many people do, I struggled with, was the Bible real? Was it not real? What were some of the things like firmament in Genesis? And talk in the beginning of Noah, it says that Lord was talking to God, like two entities, and that there were giants in the earth in those days. And after, it talked about the face of the earth and in it, and everybody would assume that in it meant hell. So, I was researching a lot of those things. I ran into some videos by, I believe the gentleman was named Ron White, who discovered supposedly the true mountain of God, and then near it, another person who researched what Ron White had researched had seen a Google image that looked like the Leviathan in the desert. I think I sent you that link.
Yeah, you did.
And it's pretty interesting, a big, long, huge skeleton in the desert. That got me interested in looking for giants. In 2004, there was a tsunami, and there was a little camera crew that came out, hit even mainstream media for a little bit, of a helicopter flying over a giant skeleton washed away on the beach. And so then, one day, this video popped up, and it said Hollow Earth 3D. And I thought, is that? And I started watching it, and I actually kicked it off. I was like, I'm not interested in this. Mm-hmm. But then lightning struck twice, and so I watched it again, and I watched the whole thing and didn't quite understand it and was confused. But then about a week later, it hit me like a bolt of lightning, like a whole awakening understanding of it. And what I mean by that is, like, I always had the thought that the firmament must be where the waters are divided from the waters. And I always knew we have fresh water and salt water. And we have fresh water and salt water at the poles, and we also have the pillars of lights in the water, or the pillars of lights, which are the auroral streams. Now, that was the thinking I had from a young age. So I always thought there must be big, springs up there. Freshwater, hot water, aquifer springs that come out and feed fresh water that turns into ice and floats into ice sheets over the poles.
Yeah.
So when I thought about the hollow earth, immediately I was like, okay, so the aquifer drains down through the crust due to gravity, comes out the other side, but because there's gravity in both directions within the crust, then the water would stick to the inside of the crust, and then due to centrifugal force, it would work its way up the land and out the pole holes at the North and South Pole. So I was like, wow, And then another question had puzzled me was, when you have snow clouds, pretty much what you need is warm, moist air that hits cold air and flash freezes in the snow. When we make artificial snow up here in Colorado, that's what they do. They spray a warm mist of water out into the cold air, and it immediately turns into ice crystals. But you need that instant interaction. If you have warm, steamy, moist air coming up from the ocean and hitting that cold air, it will condense and fall in rain before it comes in contact with that.
Yeah.
So maybe you see what I'm saying there. And so when I thought about these polar openings, I thought about, wow, it could be driving our wind direction in a big vortex over this hole as air exchanges between the inner and outer Earth. And the warm, moist air just coming right out, hitting the cold atmosphere and immediately flash freezing into these snow clouds and producing snow.
Mm-hmm.
So the more this all kind of just hit me in the car there that day. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
And when you say that, you're talking about the air coming out at the North and South poles, where people believe these openings are.
Yes, correct. So I started researching it more, and I found out that the inner sun, and at the time I was that's another thing that I was struggling with. How can you have a nuclear furnace sun inside of the Earth? And so I thought about that. But let me kind of break down what the Hollow Earth looks like in people's heads, and also you can watch that Hollow Earth 3D video because that'll help you.
Yeah.
But it has the internal sun, or what I label the center star to differentiate it from an external sun, as I'll explain in a little bit. But you have the internal sun, and it's about 400 to 600 miles wide. And then beyond that is a little bit of atmosphere around it, giving it a smoky, slaggy appearance. And then it has inner space within the Earth, and then atmosphere, and then the inner crust, and then you have the layers and the mantle in between that, and then the outer crust, outer atmosphere, and outer space.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that it works is that if you're on the inside of the planet, you are actually having gravity in reverse of what you do on the surface, holding you to the inside of the crust. So when you're inside there, also though, you have gravity at the center star lifting you at the shoulders. And because of this gravity lifting you at the shoulders, you would become a giant over time and evolution. You become larger and larger and larger. So humans out here top out around 8 feet tall. The average in some of the ex-Vikings, which are in Norway and stuff, average 6'8" to 7'2" on average. But inside the Earth, right inside, towards the North Pole, the giants are in the range of 9 to 12 feet tall. And then further down towards the equator, they're 16 to 18 feet tall. And that's because the crust is thinner.
Yeah.
So, any questions so far?
No, I'm just listening, and definitely, I'm looking at a picture of the hollow Earth, like just a little depiction. I think it's the interior world of Alvadabar.
Well, the names that I know it by are Asgard, Argotha, Lemuria II, Shambhala, Eden. Mm-hmm. A lot of the information that we have about Hollow Earth comes from a book, a novelette written by Willis George Emerson in 1908.
And that's the Smoky God? You sent me that last night because I started listening to it.
Yeah. And it was about a Norwegian sailor who sailed in the earth with his father in 1829. They were Norwegian, Scandinavian fishermen, and they went there in 1829. They were going fishing, and they were going to trade their fish with the Inuits for ivory, because ivory was more lucrative. But then the son, Olaf, challenged his father, Jans, to go into the earth and find their gods, Odin and Thor. And he's like, will you do that with me, son? He's like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, let's go. So they start going north, and they encounter a huge storm. They actually had all their water casks blown over the side of the ship. And then they were going further, and they tested the water, and suddenly it was fresh, which was really weird.
Yeah.
So they filled the remaining casks that were broken, that were down in the hold, because you would lash all your full water casks to the edge of the stern, but they had washed overboard, and then the empty ones you would store in your storage below. Mm-hmm. So they were able to fill those couple casks. Then they tested the water again. It was salty. The regular sun outside was disappearing, and then that's when they started seeing this apparition sun in front of them, and it grew higher and higher on the horizon every day, and the other sun disappeared behind them. They had strong northerly driven winds that were pushing them along through these fissures in the ice.
Wow.
And they got to where they were completely underneath this other sun. The other sun was completely gone. Outer space was completely gone. And they were just seeing this sun 24 hours a day in the sky. And they ended up reaching land, collecting some nuts and berries, and when they suddenly heard loud booming voices, and those loud booming voices were from giants that were on a pleasure cruiser. And this is in the 1800s, but this ship was under its own propulsion, and they were able to lift Olaf Jansen and his father's complete ship out of the water and put it on the decks of their ship, and they put it on a display in their museum during the time that they were there visiting, so that the inner Earth people could come and see their compass, their ship, everything else. And they lived with the original giants that found them for a year, and then they wanted to see the rest of the lands and everything inside the Earth, and they were taken to the city of Edon, which is another word for Eden, with a magnificent fountain and a gigantic garden, and it fed 4 rivers, the rivers listed in the Bible according to Willis George Emerson, and what this guy gave him on his account of his deathbed. And I'll get to that. So he stayed there for 1 year, and then the second year they went to this Edon. They asked the king for permission to travel all the lands and see the entire inner Earth, and they did. And they went all around, and they saw elephants and turtles. The size, it's hard to put